Ready?
Oh, yes.
First is an announcement that we had an executive session just prior to this meeting to discuss personnel, I guess. The second thing is the approval of minutes of May 15th meeting.
I move that the board approve minutes of May 15, 2017 as submitted.
Second. Any comments on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
The Township Manager's report is next.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. For the month of May, several meetings, several events, one of which regarding planning, the Phoenixville Region Multimodal Transportation Plan that I'm involved with. We had our second workshop, and there was also a public meeting on May 25th regarding the plan moving forward. And hopefully we'll have some good action items being developed out of that plan for the Phoenixville region. The West Vincent Community Day was on May 20th, and it was a better day regarding the weather. We had great attendance, so thanks for all the volunteers, staff, and sponsors who made that event possible. Yes, I agree. Thank you.
Brave call.
Yes.
Great execution.
Yes. On May 25th, the Township staff, as part of our training initiatives this year, participated in a conflict resolution and effective communications training through our insurance company. This was, part one was held last year. This was part two. Again, with the planning, Phoenixville Regional Planning Committee met on May 31st. It was to conduct workshop number 5 of our comprehensive plan project. And there will be a community workshop on June 22nd, later this month at Kimberton Fire Company, 7 p.m. We have that on our website. Input is being solicited through a community values survey.
Is this the time to pass them out?
Sure, if that would be great, because I hear the outreach, we need to continue to help with that. They would love more input.
So
Thanks,
this
Sarah.
has two things. It has the link for the input,
Okay.
and it has the meeting announcement.
All right. Thanks very much.
I've already responded.
Okay. The township is continuing to partner with the Natural Lands Trust conserving Brinkwood Farms. The discussions continue on preserving the open space and creating a township park. We're actively seeking input from the public on the future development of the park and the concepts thereof. The survey for that is available on our website and has been distributed. Continue to please provide your input on that end. Special meeting of the Board of Supervisors will be held tomorrow, June 6th at 11 a.m. at the Fox Hollow subdivision to give the board an opportunity to walk the Fox Hollow Trail so we can discuss installation. Please be reminded you may view the Township's monthly treasurer's report, providing a status of the budget on the Township website. I'll have a mid-year report next month on the budget performance for 2017, but we have a nice report that's available, and I just want to keep reminding everyone to check that out. Thank you. The Parks and Recreation Commission will be hosting their first Picnic in the Park event on Thursday, July 13th at 6 p.m. here at Evans Park near the gazebo. Music will be provided by American singer-songwriter duo Danielle and Jennifer. It's the first event of this kind. You bring your dinner and you enjoy some music, and hopefully we'll have some nice weather for that, so it sounds nice. As far as projects, French Creek Road Arch replacement, we're seeking authorization from the board to bid that this evening. Hollow Road Bridge, project specifications are being evaluated and modified now by the township engineer to rebid, hopefully next meeting. The township paving, we'll have our pre-construction meeting on that for Horseshoe Trail and Nantmeal Roads in the near future. Buttonwood Lane Bridge, we had some severe deterioration to the upstream side of the guide rail and the curbing along the bridge, and we actually had to place some barriers this month along that side. So if you drive down Hollow Road, you may notice these barriers, but we're doing this as a precaution because of that deterioration. Yes?
Are they filled with water or some liquid to give them weight?
Water.
Did that affect the weight limit on the bridge at all?
We consulted with our structural engineer. It's okay. It still can handle significant, the vehicle size that we have and the weight. But we definitely need to replace that bridge. So that's where we're really looking at the cost involved, so. Okay, Fellowship Trail. We're seeking authorization from the board to bid phase 1 this evening. And St. Matthew's Church, we've come to an agreement on the access to allow for the survey. Really good along with that, but that's fine. We have their conditions and we're good. As far as the road report, in the month of May, the road department performed vehicle and equipment maintenance. Of course, PA1 calls, assisted with that. Mowed right-of-ways, cleaned out the various pipes and inlets, graded St. Andrews, Beaver Hill Road, Dewey's Lane, Burlette School Road, French Creek Road, Janie Lane, etc. There are quite a few roads here. Filled in various holes, ditched Art School Road, and hauled additional stone French Creek Road. The township is awaiting approval from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service still for the dirt and gravel road program projects. One item, Asphalt Industries will begin double chip seal of the township roads, including St. Andrews Lane, Clarkson Road, Pine Drive, Barrington Lane, St. Anthony Lane, Art School Road, Dewey's Lane, and Adelphia Lane during the week of June 12th. That'll be completed in 3 days. And per PennDOT, Flowing Springs Road between Birch Run Road Bridge and St. Matthews will be resurfaced this summer. We don't have dates quite yet. We'll hear back from PennDOT. Their contract, Alan Myers, is doing the work, and they'll notify us accordingly. Thank you.
Any questions for Eric? Yes, Sam.
That was so fast, I already forgot the first two. Which bridge did you say had the barricades?
Buttonwood.
And that will have to be replaced?
The bridge will, yeah.
Okay, so the ideas of remediation and...
It's not looking good. Yeah. It's looking like the components of the bridge are just in such bad shape that doing additional repairs, or it's much better to just look at replacing it.
Suzanne?
A question on Flowing Springs Road and the repaving. The edges of that road are really in terrible shape, and somebody's going to take the bottom out of their car one of these days as they're driving up or down. But the other issue is at the bottom, at Hollow and Flowing Springs, we have a water issue that has been ongoing now for several years. There, I believe, used to be an outlet or a pipe that went under the road that's been filled in, or something's happened to it so that water flows across it. It's not so dangerous in the times of the year when we have sunshine, but when we don't, it's highly dangerous.
Yes.
We've talked about that in the past,
yeah.
and Mark Hughes, I believe, is aware of it.
Yes, he is. I'll talk with them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because this is, if they're going to be repaving, this is the moment, I would think, in time to address that situation as opposed to putting it off one more time.
PennDOT, yeah. But
That's a problem in that we have to coerce PennDOT. Now, if there's a drain that's off the road bed that can be opened or something, that's something we can do. Fixing the side of the roads, I know we've talked to them about putting, what do they call, riprap in on the sides to hold it, so they're aware of it, but it's also PennDOT.
Well, do we need to do some kind of a petition to say this is really dangerous? I mean, you know, that intersection, we are so fortunate that we haven't had a fatality there. I cannot, you know, when it's ice for 500 yards up to that intersection in the winter, it's just, it's scary.
A petition?
Well, what can we all do as a group in the
Citizens to
township
PennDOT.
to get PennDOT to pay attention to this?
The regional headquarters are in King of Prussia.
I'll contact them about the specific issue and see, get on the radar.
She's right, now would be the time to
That's
take
it,
any
yeah, that's
action.
fine.
Because it's pointless to have them redo the road.
Everything I know, I've never worked with PennDOT, well, a little bit, but everything I've ever heard is, good luck.
Yeah.
Sarah?
We've had some experience in the past with PennDOT a couple of times by going directly to, citizens going directly to PennDOT, and by using people like Dinneman and, what's her name?
Costello.
Becky Corbin, to put pressure on from that side. I think our past experience was they rarely listened to the municipality, but they could listen to the voters and the elected officials at a different level.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Francis?
I have called Becky Corbin, and she has addressed issues with PennDOT. Yeah, I have called her on several occasions, and anything that I asked about, she resolved. But Suzanne was talking about, there used to be drainage on that side of Flowing Springs Road, because we've been here a long time, and you've been here longer. But there was drainage, and it got covered up, it got filled in.
Duly noted, she's gonna make a phone call.
So is that the property owners?
Say that again?
Is the property owner responsible for the fact that that drain is covered up?
We don't know whether there is a drain that's covered up, we're presupposing something, so.
Well, this is something that's happened in the last 10 years, and prior to that, it was not an issue.
So we're trying to solve PennDOT's issue here in the township building. Harriet?
I suspect it had to do with the burying of the wetlands on the old township building site there. The Wilkinsons squashed, anyway, so.
They changed the drainage.
They changed the drainage. So it may not just be the current landowner, it may be what happened further upstream. So it's more complicated.
There's looking into. Erica's
Yeah,
looking into.
this came up before, and I did speak with the road department. I just cannot recall exactly what all the factors were, so I will ask again.
Brian?
I'm wondering whether really, and it's going to get sticky because it becomes real money, is whether they really need to put in a drain alongside the road to capture the water to keep it from going across it. Because we've got the same problem out here at 401 there at St. Matthews on, going east or north, west or north, is that you cross the bridge and you can see that it's low, there's a swampy area there, and that area keeps deteriorating time after time, and not a lot has been done, and that's a major PennDOT road.
Like I said, these are all good questions. We made some new friends at PennDOT a week or so ago, and she's gonna call them and see if anything can be done.
Sure.
Sarah?
Just one quick comment, if it's really 500 yards, it's what's coming down the whole hill. It's not just what's happening near the intersection, so it's coming down from above Schoolhouse. And you see that, you would probably have driven across the ice that washes across the road up there.
Chris?
If it's just the clogged culverts, is there anything wrong or against the law about the township just clearing it out?
I doubt they would even know, but we're not sure that's just the issue. I don't know if there's a culvert there.
Well, I'm saying if the past proves that there is, it might be so simple as just getting a backhoe there, clearing out the other side of it, and everything's all.
Erica's going to talk to our road crew and have an investigate and find out if that is the case. No, then I'm sure we would do it without PennDOT's approval. Any other comments? Thank you, Erica. Next is the approval of the bills list. Tonight, we're looking at the township bills list of $75,709.22. The reimbursable bills list of $33,685.08. And the subdivision utility plant bills list in the amount of $30,091.86. All three bills lists combined for a total of $139,486.16.
I move that the board approve the bills listed May 15, 2017 in a total amount of $139,486.16.
Is there a second? Second. Any questions on the bills list?
No, it's a simple idea, it's dated today, not May 16th.
Say that
I
again?
think it's
Yeah,
bill that's dated
yeah,
June
good point.
5th, not May 16th.
Yes.
John, I'm sorry. I think it's in May 15, and it should say.
June,
I wrote it.
June 5th,
Eric, I
right?
told her.
You just did, oh, because we were talking. My apologies.
And will you withdraw your motion, restate it, Mike?
I withdraw my motion.
Is that good enough?
Yes, thank you. Great.
I move that the board approve the bills list dated June 5th, 2017 in a total amount of $139,486.16.
Now, are there any questions? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Erica, next under correspondence, we have a letter from Chester County Planning Commission. Do you want to handle that?
Sure. The Chester County Planning Commission, everyone's updating plans. They're updating their comprehensive plan, they call it Landscapes 3. This is the former, what's in place now is Landscapes 2. They are releasing, well, they have already released a public survey on that plan, and they're gathering input as well. We have this listed, we've been sharing this via our social media. It's just another reminder to please provide your input on this effort. So Chester County is moving forward with their plan. And that's it.
Along those lines, you all were given a card for a survey, but the Phoenixville Regional Planning Commission is scheduling a workshop in the Kimberton Fire Company on June 22nd at 7 p.m. They usually say they get 200-300 people to attend, the concerned citizens, and it's always a good idea. That would be your chance to get a voice on anything from open space or road improvements, rail, bicycles, anything that you think is appropriate. That would be the place to voice your concern and be part of the solution.
Thank you, John, very much.
Brian?
Is there a drop dead date for that, for the Landscapes 3 survey? When do they want the results in by?
They do not have a date. I looked for that. It's open-ended as far as I can see right now. So I imagine they're collecting the feedback and want to assess it. Maybe they want to leave it out a little longer.
Okay, thank you.
But the one for Phoenixville Regional is a few days before the 22nd of June, so there's time to tabulate. Next is under correspondence, on your park gets set down. Could we have an explanation of what that is?
Sure can. Last year we participated in On Your Park at ZECO through the Potsdam Area Health and Wellness Foundation. This is a community park contest. You can win money through the contest for various improvements at your park. And also it's just a nice way to get the word out about local parks and invite people to enjoy them. So we are a participating park in that effort. This is how it goes. Basically, you have to register on the Potsdam Area Health and Wellness Foundation website or through their Facebook. And you get these little tickets, and they'll mail them to you through that registration. And you can drop them off in a box at the specific park that you'd like to make a vote. So we'll have a little box that will be located in the gazebo, okay, with a banner at Evans Park in our participation. You can also vote by taking a selfie in the park. So when you're taking your run or walking your dog, you can do that and post it to the Health and Wellness Foundation page, Facebook. So it's also part of a promotional aspect for them. And let's see, you can win the Healthiest Park Prize for the greatest number of tickets and selfies taken. You can win an Activity Challenge prize for voting by tickets only, and then a bonus prize for participating communities earning or having the strongest efforts in addition to building community and creatively honoring their parks. So however they determine that, that's fine. But that's the contest. So it'll kick off soon. You do need to register this month, and they'll mail the little tickets to your home. Okay? Any questions, let us know.
Yes.
So you don't have to, I don't have a phone that'll send a selfie. You don't have to do that?
You don't. You can register in advance. You will be mailed an envelope with tickets, and you just place that ticket when you go to the park in the box. So.
Any other questions? Moving on. Subdivisions Lane Development, Eagle Farm, Sunderland Avenue, extension request.
I move to grant the extension for the Sutherland Avenue plan for Eagle Farms until September 12, 2017.
Second.
Is anyone here? No.
Do we know why they wanted the extension?
This extension is based off of additional time needed to address and review really the township engineer comments and go through the planning commission process. So.
So, do you have any opinions on this? David, Mike? No.
You did the second, right?
I did second. Any comments from the audience? And seeing none, all those in favor of granting an extension? Aye.
Opposed?
I'm sorry?
Sorry, opposed?
Okay. Next, under old business, the open space volunteer appointment.
I move to appoint Jeff Goldberg to the Open Space Review Board for a term of 5 years ending December 31st, 2021.
Any comments from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Next is the surveys for the sewer work by Cedarville Engineering to provide updated proposals.
I move to approve proposal from Cedarville Engineering to do surveys for the sewer easements on the 2 Weatherstone parcels and St. Stephen's Green parcel, in a total of $19,620.
Second.
Any comments from the audience? George?
Is that just the land survey, or is this the cataloging of all the parts of the sewer?
It's just land with GIS, right?
I mean, they were talking about,
The equipment and everything, right, that's
Yeah.
separate.
Yeah, that is right.
We did that last, did we do that last
Yes, we
meeting?
did.
Okay.
so that they already have a bid to do that?
Yeah.
Or a contract to do that?
Any other comments from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Number 8, under new business, authorization of the bid for French Creek Road culvert replacement.
I move that the board authorize the advertisement of the bid for the French Creek Road culvert replacement.
Second.
We have the bid documents, and when will they go out if we approve this tonight?
I was gonna get that from Cedarville. They, it would be, I believe, within a week. We are planning to have an award at the next, at the first July meeting, so July 3rd. So,
It would be really nice to accomplish something on one of those
I agree
bridges.
with you. I agree.
Okay. Any questions from the audience? Brian?
This says culvert, are we going to maintain the arch structure that was there to begin with? Or are we just dropping in a pre-made concrete box culvert to replace what was there originally?
Replace what was there originally.
Okay.
Wait a second, yes.
So what was that? Replace what?
Replace it.
Oh, what are they?
With a box culvert,
Yes.
right, yes, no, yes.
On the north side, I think the north side,
Mhm.
there was erosion behind the wall, the original stone wall that I think got them to a point that it had to be redone completely and dropped in. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Next is authorization to bid the Fellowship Trail Phase 1 Weatherstone connection.
I make the motion that the board authorize the advertisement of the bid for the Fellowship Trail Phase 1.
Second.
Any comments? Come on, you guys are no fun tonight.
Wait for
Don't
Brian
complain.
so we can alternate.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The Open Space Committee Annual Report for 2016. Who wants to give that tonight?
As much as I voted, I'll do it.
Please do.
Annual Report 2016. After a number of years of inactivity, the Open Space Committee was reinstituted in June 2016. Members of the committee were Katie Widener, Ben James, Bill Diedrich, Don Cook, and David Brown. The committee revised the property evaluation form used by committees in other years. With the help of the township manager and secretary, the committee determined which properties previously under consideration were still available and subject to further review. The committee visited 15 sites for possible land preservation by the township and evaluated the sites under the criteria and with the forms developed. With the approval of the township solicitor, the committee's deliberations about individual properties were conducted in executive session. The committee then prepared to present a recommendation of the 16 years LLC property to the Board of Supervisors, which will be the subject of the committee's 2017 report.
Any questions for David? Brian?
This is a general question, not directly directed at David. There's a number of different committees and commissions in the township that are supposed to have annual reports. Does this finish up all of them that they've been submitted for 2016?
No. No, it does not. I'm sorry.
No, it does not.
Okay, who is outstanding at this point?
EAC.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna have to find somebody on the EAC committee. Sarah?
Are the other reports on the committee pages on the website?
Yes. I think sustainability, as far as the annual report, I have to check on that too.
Well,
Yeah,
they,
because sustainability is going through some change.
well,
so
they did that whole work plan, so
They do, yeah, they
So
do
that
that
sort
work.
of
That
covers
is, you're
them.
right. That's a lot of work.
I was wondering if that
Yeah, good
some
point.
other.
Maria, you had a question?
Yes, I do. David, in your report, you state that the open space did not meet or was defunct for several years, and then it started again. Can you tell me why it kind of went out of?
No idea. I wasn't the liaison at that point.
And then what brought it back together again? What was the catalyst?
I think, well, actually what it was that when the Open Space Committee was nominated at the beginning of this year, 2016, it was erroneously staffed. The existing ordinance provided that certain people have to be on it, ex officio, et cetera. And so it was necessary to reconstitute it. I think that happened in June. And at that point, the committee was much too small, and we actually started meeting, I think.
Are you said that you worked on the format for how you evaluate. Is that public knowledge?
It's been presented to the supervisor, so I guess it should be.
Is it on the website that,
I don't know.
can it be?
Yeah.
Well, is there a reason that you started back up in June because of 16 years? Did they come to you at that point?
No.
No. Because basically, it came to our attention that we had misstaffed the committee in January.
Sarah?
There was a further issue of some residents who had started the process of working with Jim and somebody else when Jim was still in Erica's job. And they came in and said, what is happening? And that sort of made people aware of the fact that the committee hadn't been meeting. But they'd been talking to the committee earlier and then to the township manager over a course of 18 months. And they said, what's happening? You have to have a committee if you're going to get a recommendation. So I believe that was the impetus more than 16 years. Didn't happen for months after.
Yeah, but 16 years bought the property in April, so it just kind of made sense that a couple months later, then they're
Yeah.
asking the township to.
Because I've been going to those meetings before it died and since it's reconstituted. And
Any other
wasn't
questions?
part of it.
We don't need to take any action on that, except thank you, David. Next is the Cedarville proposal to survey Horseshoe Trail paving and road widening project.
We talked. So how do I do this? Do I read the motion and then discuss
Sure.
my idea?
Sure.
Okay. I make the motion to approve the proposal from Cedarville Engineering to survey the Horseshoe Trail right-of-way in the total amount of $13,525.
Second.
Okay, this is a survey of the complete Horseshoe Trail, is that correct? Or just from
For the project area,
that they're repaving?
right.
Just that area?
Davis,
Okay.
yeah.
Davis
Now-
Hall. from
Davis all into St.
Mm-hmm.
Matthews?
Right.
Okay. Because of a property owner request for information on the right-of-way, we need to do a certain portion of that road, okay? But we don't need to do the whole road. Okay, this proposal for $13,525 is for the whole Davis all the way to St. Matthews.
Right.
The property in question and the reason why we have to do it is X amount and I think you said somewhere around $4,000 for that.
Right, I could handle that administratively.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, we had an issue, what we're looking at with horseshoe trailers, the sides are just so beaten that we're looking at actually widening as much as possible, having our road crew do that. And there are some sensitive areas where we've got a number of features that are within the right-of-way. So when we're working within those limits, we're dealing with one issue that had come up where we did not have some sufficient evidence to move forward, but on the entire portion, we're unsure of that, and so looking at notifying all the property owners of this widening, that would be the intent, to have a clean survey done that we do not have today. So that's the proposal.
So are you okay with just knocking it down to that section that?
Oh, I'm okay, and then if we move forward, we have another issue, I'll bring it to your attention.
Okay.
So,
Sarah?
So the features that you're talking about are those dry stone walls?
you bet,
And then when it gets down near Hollow Road, it's the wetlands?
sure.
But you're talking about just doing one stretch. That might not
Yeah.
include the wetlands, right?
That's correct.
So you're just worrying about somebody's stone wall. I appreciate that
I
because
am
we want to
worried.
protect them, but,
Right, yes.
so is
Yeah.
your proposal to pave into where the stone wall now is?
No, try to pave where we have, we are maintaining at least the roadway, maybe a few inches more. We're not talking about a lot. And then having a stone base for drainage on the sides where it's been broken down, it's basically dirt. So that's really what the nature of the.
Yeah, so I'm not
is.
really understanding why the survey is necessary
Okay.
then. Because I drive that stretch of road, I know where some of those treacherous drop-offs are. And if you're filling those holes and paving it, you're within inches of that wall anyway. So how wide the right-of-way? What is the real issue? What's the question?
Yeah.
If somebody's telling you you're paving outside of the right-of-way?
Somebody asked
Yeah.
for information of where the right-of-way is, and we don't have it.
Did they have
It's
it
too
on their
long.
deeds?
No, it's not sufficient.
And because they requested it,
Yeah.
we feel obligated to
So
produce
so you're proposing just do it on their property?
on the one that's requesting it, yes.
Right,
Yeah.
not on the rest of it. And it reduces it from 13,000 to about
About 4.
4. Must be a long piece of property.
Do we have enough information in the Cedarville's recommendation to break that up?
I think she has.
Erica has it.
that
We'll
one,
do it
Brian.
as we-
Oh, yeah, that's fine, that's fine, I just wanted to provide everything. The issue came up, and we thought, well, this could be something moving forward, so.
But the motion was for to approve the whole.
Right,
So
correct.
that's a restatement of the motion, I think so. I mean, that's why I didn't know how to handle it.
Just let me ask, Brian, you had a question?
Well, one is a simple question. Is this physical surveying, with the OTA lights and everything like that? Or are they using drones, which is coming into play these days? Or, and I believe Cedarville one time used some electronic data sets to come up with what the right-of-way was. Do we have an idea which way they're doing this?
I have no idea.
Yeah, as far as the field survey, what you mentioned, that's not as familiar. This is subbing out.
The
Yeah.
reason I ask that is because, sending out people and physically doing it takes more time and more money.
Oh, sure.
Drones,
Sure.
electronic means seem to be going a lot faster these days.
Well, that'd be their decision and their profit motivation, so
Yeah.
it's not up
Okay.
to us which way they do it, as long as it's allowed.
The other question is when this survey is done, and we know where the right-of-way is, are we putting down markers and monuments?
Yes.
So that we know those in the future?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
In and around to the right.
I just have a question about this right-of-way. We're talking about.
You're going to have to speak up.
I have a question about the right-of-way we're talking about. That's the one between Fellowship and Hollow?
Correct.
Aren't there power wires, aren't there poles in that right-of-way?
In utility easements, within the right-of-way, yes, but there's
So we can't really
information regarding
pave-
the easements.
We can't even really pave up close to the wall anyway, can we?
Yeah, that is a good question. If the utilities can put in their poles, don't we have that space? Once they
It's,
had to do a survey?
I don't know whether you want to
No.
pave around the poles.
No,
It's-
but it shows the distance, and we're not gonna go near the pole anyway. But what
They're
that
actually
tells,
going behind the wall,
they are,
yes.
but they're in the right of way. No.
They're
How's that work? I don't know.
in the utility easement for people.
Okay, which is separate from the
They're
right of way,
Verizon.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Chris,
they
you-
put the poles behind the wall?
Some they have.
Because they were working on them the other day.
They're working on them today and tomorrow.
Chris, you had a comment?
Yeah, my understanding is that the right-of-way comes from the center of the road. Why not just move the center of the road? Seriously, move the center of the road over a foot.
I think that's part of the problem here, reading that proposal, is there's a number of ways that right-of-ways have been done over the years. And this one, there's no documentation. They have to really do some
Yeah.
checking to find out where it is. It's come up in the past that there can be the discrepancy of 4 to 6 feet.
Doesn't
We hit that on
grandfather,
Blackbirch Road.
isn't
What's
it
that?
grandfather because it's been the way it has for 100 years? Doesn't that sort of dictate what the center of the road is?
The center of roads move.
Yeah.
We found that on Blackbirch Road.
Yeah.
Yes, Brian?
That was the exact point that I was going to make, is when they did the Black Horse Road pave side project, if you looked at the drawings, the road itself wandered through the right-of-way. It was not centered on it. So, over time, it happens, and you're looking at what records you've got.
We're going to beat this one to death. Sarah,
I was thinking I should have brought my gloves.
say that
I
again?
was thinking, never mind. I'm back to the arithmetic. I'm glad Mike wants to save us money. So if it was 13,000 and we think we're going to do it for 4,000, but we really only need to use it, that would say it's about 30% of the first cost, the 4,000. But if we only need to do one side of the road for one property owner, I bet we could do it for 2,000. Can you do that math, Mike?
Oh, no, when you do a survey, you have to
Yeah,
survey
there's
the
other
whole,
things,
both sides.
yeah.
Well, if you've got one neighbor
Well, we're the
saying,
center,
where
like
is
Brooke
my
says.
line? You only need to answer that question. You don't need to tell the other neighbor where their line is.
No, it's it's a survey.
Yeah.
It's going to include, but
We
it's
really
going to include the whole
have- we
right of
really
way.
have.
You can't say,
We
you
went
can't do
by
a right of way
utility.
without doing the whole thing.
Yeah.
I was just,
Been forensic.
just hopeful.
Did we rescind that motion?
No. I rescind that previous motion.
And you're good, you don't have to do, yeah.
Okay, so now I read it. Oh, no, I can't read it.
Wait, I'm waiting for the
You can
next
just,
motion.
if you're okay with me proceeding with that portion, that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we have to,
Then we have to authorize you to proceed with the survey, yes.
For a certain amount.
But we, not to exceed $5,000, how's that?
Right, that's
Okay.
the thing. Yeah.
I move to approve the proposal from Cedarville Engineering to survey the Horseshoe Trail right of way, not to exceed $5,000.
Second.
Sarah, how
Just want
much?
to confirm that my swag is correct. This is a short segment, about 30% of the total width. It is not.
Use that in your.
Total length, right?
Okay. I'm still surprised that there's a frontage there that's 3/10 of a mile
What we're
long.
trying to do is, Mike came up with an idea that we don't need to do the
Yep.
entire thing.
I like that.
So if we can accomplish what's necessary. Okay. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Next is a Cedarville proposal for Bartlett Lane bog turtle
I
survey.
know, Cedar.
I can't read this one, Dave, you're gonna have to do this.
You don't like turtles?
What do you got against turtles?
They're getting more expensive than humans.
I make the motion to approve the proposal from Cedarville Engineering to prepare a bog turtle avoidance and minimization request package and submit to the United States Fish and Wildlife Service in the total amount of $4,250.
I'll second.
Erica, you want to explain why this is necessary?
I will, all right. So, we have a variety of projects that we received some grant funding through the Conservation District for Dirt and Gravel Road program. And one is for a pipe replacement on Bartlett Lane. We had to go through for every project a phase one and seek waivers, request for a waiver for bog turtle habitat or any wildlife habitat through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So for
Have we already done a bog turtle study on this one? Is that the $8,000 one?
that would be, oh, okay. So a phase two would be the full-blown $8,000 I referred to. Yeah,
And we've done that, but not for this one.
right.
Okay.
So through the Fish and Wildlife Service, we've just been waiting and checking in with them on this and on the waivers on the other projects. On this specific one, we do have bog turtles. That did come up at this location. So what we need to do, the guidance we have currently, if we would need to move forward with a phase two. And that is, it's pretty involved. You have to have a bog turtle specialist on site, and do a number of reports, monitoring, and it's $8,000. So it's actually the cost of the project, which is $8,000. So I asked Cedarville, this project is important, we want to get it done, but what can we do? Well, there's some discussion with U.S. Fish and Wildlife about doing a modified approach on this, and in our discussions, not final, that seemed to be a fine resolution because of the small scope of this project. But it would require for 2 days to have a bog turtle specialist on hand to monitor the conditions when this pipe is put in. So before you is the proposal for that.
Just as a comment, if any of you are looking for a second career, I suggest you go into this bog turtle thing. It could be very profitable.
Trust me, I understand, and we saw $8,000 for that, and it just, yeah.
Is this something you have to do?
Yes.
Or is it something you have?
I already heard, because Chris asked, is this something we actually have to do, and the answer is yes.
So, but do you have to do it because you want the grant money? So you get $8,000
The
for it?
reality
I think you have to
is,
do it anyway,
you
don't
might
you?
have to do it anyway.
That's, yes.
And once they find bog turtles,
Well, we've had the rent a bog turtle project going for a while. I didn't know we left one apart.
No.
okay, so where are we on this, David? Francis, I'm sorry.
Can't we get volunteers in the Academy of Natural Science? They do a lot of volunteer work.
No, you missed a key point, Francis. Let me read this.
Certified.
Will prepare a bog
Qualified.
turtle avoidance and minimization, oh, that's not it. If approved and obtained, where is it? It said, they provide construction monitored by a qualified bog turtle surveyor for the anticipated 2 days. And only $1,700 a day. It's a bargain.
And it's a federal requirement. I went back to pull off all the information, and this is the U.S. Department of Interior putting this out there.
The only other place, and I'm not an expert, but you know, the Lexus dealership in Chester Springs, they found bog turtles before the construction. Actually, Outback had to build a land bridge so they could cross over and get to the bog area. The problem they had was nobody spoke bog turtle, so they didn't know how to point to, bog turtles this way. Anyway, I laugh and I shouldn't. It's a serious environmental thing that people are a lot brighter than I have decided to protect, so I have to joke. Anyway, is that enough? Then all those in favor? Aye. Thank you, Eric.
Sure, thank you.
Next is authorized advertisement for the agriculture security area renewal for West Vincent.
I move to authorize the advertisement of the 7-year review process for the ag security area pursuant to the Pennsylvania Agricultural Area Security Law, Act 43 of 1981 as amended.
Second.
Erica, you're up again. Explain
Okay.
that to us.
Sure. Every 7 years, we are required by the Pennsylvania Agricultural Area Security Law to give notice to our residents who have the agricultural security area within their property and enjoy certain benefits of that and protections that surrounds. Landowners get notified by the township, and if there's any changes to those, that acreage, they have to notify us within a 30-day period. We have inventory and contact information for all those property owners, and we have to go through this process. We'll be working with the Township Planning Commission, our advisory committee on this issue, and our county planning commission. But there's a number of dates, so this sets the stage to begin that process.
Any questions from the audience? Any comments? Brian?
Do we have any idea, or do we know how many people are participating in this?
I think more than you think.
I have no idea how many.
2,000 acres?
It's 2 pages long. I never counted
Okay.
how many.
Yeah. I'll check into that.
Fair amount.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the other question is, and I may have caught it there, is, do we have any idea approximately how many acres are covered?
2,000.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote.
Aye.
Next is the Township Park purchase from Natural Lands Trust. Erica, you put this on?
I did.
What would you like to say? We have a guest from Natural Lands Trust who's sitting in the back. He wants to hide and get out of here early.
I rather like sitting in the back.
Would you mind, before we get into what bring us up to date on how you folks are and what you're looking for us to move on with this project? Is that fair, or would you rather not?
Well, we'll let Erica go first.
Say that again?
We'll let Erica go first.
Okay.
Presentation.
Oh, right, very well. For the past few months, Natural Lands Trust has been working diligently on the preservation of Brakewood Farms. There's no doubt about it. And this has been a project, though, although we've seen all the moving, actions, things happening for the past few months for several years. And the things that I hear, the stories about this project, it's really tremendous for them to get to this point and work through this. Now, the township, looking to partner in that effort, the township has been looking at the 72 acres on St. Matthews, in looking to actually acquire that from Natural Lands Trust when the land is conveyed to them from the Dietrichs. So we've been working through, what does that actually look like? What is that going to be? And really the concept is, I should say, the main driver here is the preservation of open space and what are the resources to make that possible. Now with Natural Lands Trust, it's been a number of private donors, it's been grants, all sorts of things. And of course, for this piece, the 72 acres, it will take the help of the West Vincent Township and our open space funds as well. So to that end, we've been working on trying to come to an agreement, and that's still something that we're going to be working on with Natural Lands Trust. But with that 72 acres, we are looking at conceiving a park. And we're not sure really in the future what that may look like, but in the short term, that park and that open space should be stable, be context sensitive to the nature preserve, and will offer a variety of amenities to the township residents. One aspect that has been coming up a lot are, of course, our existing farm buildings. Okay, you can't miss them. Of course, that's part of it. They're big structures. This was quite the operation. So in those discussions, in looking at preserving the open space and having this Parks and Rec facility and what's doable, those structures may not be part of the big picture. In looking at demolition and looking at how can we repurpose this area to serve as the open space, the park that the township wants to preserve there. So with that, we want to open up that discussion. That's really where we stand today, if I missed anything.
No. How long ago did you folks approach the township on this project? That was 7? Was
At
it
least 5 years ago.
I thought it was longer than that.
It could be.
And our financial commitment is what?
We're looking at approximately 1.5 million.
Which is substantial. And where are we getting that money from?
We have our open space reserve.
So it's all the open space taxes that we've been, or bond fund money
Oh,
and.
no.
And I should also say, and a grant through the Natural Lands Trust.
Yes.
Yes. That's
We
the
have
important part.
leveraged the township's interest in conserving the 72 acres and got a grant, or we leveraged that for a grant through the state for a little under $1 million.
Say that again, what
For a
amount?
little under $1 million.
A substantial grant, yes. Are there any questions from the audience at this point? Chris?
I put together, I'd gone and looked at the barn several weeks ago, and being in construction things and being around when that barn was built, I know that some major money was spent on doing that barn and concrete, steel, and all that, and I know what that cost. And when I had heard about tearing it down, I was thinking, why? And I went and I looked at it, and all the deterioration that I see is in the roofing material itself, and that's not total, it's just in some places. In thinking about the barns, it occurred to me that, in a discussion I've had with a Peter Wilkinson, I don't know if that's... Williamson, I'm sorry, is that you?
No.
He had said that this property was going to have, of course, the proverbial walking trails, but it was also going to be open for horseback riding, equestrian things. As I grew up where I live now, it was a daily occurrence to see horses riding through. That was just the way it was, and everybody enjoyed that. If you look at what Dietrich had, plus what the Dunns have, plus what I have, and Fraley's and everything, you probably come up with around 4,000 acres that's there in total. And I think that probably the majority of all the landowners of that 4,000 acres are amenable to horseback riding. I'm not so sure about joggers and bikers and that sort of thing, but certainly horseback riding. The thrust of every dollar spent in West Vincent has been for all the new people moving in. It's the baseball fields, it's the schools, it's the park things, the jogathons, all these things. But nothing has been provided for the people that really made this area so desirable to be. The people that created Ludwig's Corners, the people that have horses and train horses. You may know that, like the people that have Barbara Barry's place, the Kings, they have $1 million horses in there and 40-some stalls. The point being that I suspect that not only the people that live here, but people that might buy some of the Natural Lands Trust property would be keenly interested in being able to ride that property. And the barn that's there could conceively have a huge number of facilities for horse boarding if one wanted to have 30 or 50 stalls that for boarding and maybe an indoor rink and things like that would serve the whole equestrian side of this township, the very thing that this township is sort of founded on. And it would encourage people that were interested in equestrian things to come to the area, because where else are you going to find 4,000 acres like this? It just doesn't exist. And the facility to house horses that could ride that 4,000 acres just doesn't exist. So the township, of course, is fearful, and so is the Natural Lands Trust, of owning a building like that. So why don't you just sell it to me with 10 acres and be done with it? And what I'll do is I'll develop it into a place where people can ride horses, have an indoor rink, and frankly, I think the township should move the whole township facility up there. You could park all the trucks, all the cinder, all the police cars, have meeting rooms, ballrooms if you wanted to. There's just a huge opportunity there.
Well,
As far as the work of redoing it, I get in there with a team of pressure washers, sandblasters. I'd go through the whole place, and then I'd tear off the roof, and I'd put a standing seam painted aluminum roof on it, replace the decking where
I
necessary.
think you're underestimating the amount of concrete that's in the floor. It's a huge amount of concrete, and that would be the biggest part of the demolition, from what I understand, is getting rid of that concrete.
Chris is talking
curbing.
about not getting rid of it.
Reuse.
Yeah, well-
I'm sorry, couldn't hear.
I'm not talking about getting rid of anything.
Yes, to make it usable in there, the concrete floor and the curbing, because it's a commercial dairy facility. The cows weren't even allowed to move very much. They were locked into position for morning, noon, and night. They didn't go outside and graze. So all that is reinforced concrete that.
Things like this, it just,
Well,
I was in one wing of it, I didn't explore the thing thoroughly, and I didn't feel with the eye of what concrete would you keep and what concrete would you get rid of. I mean, obviously, if you have stalls, you can't have concrete floors in a stall, but certainly between the stalls.
But I think you're missing the key component. That would be a commercial activity on this property, which we couldn't use open space funds for.
Well, isn't the
I think-
baseball field, or the soccer field, isn't this commercial, is it commercial? I'm not saying that the township owns it.
Well, no,
You don't own
but
it
you'd have
anymore,
to
so you
talk
don't get
to
what you
National
pay.
Lands Trust to see if they would sell it to you for X amount.
Well, if the National Lands Trust allows people to walk on the property, what's wrong with horseback riding?
Well, they do allow horseback riding on the property. That will be part of it. There are trails, there'll be a trail system through that.
Couple
horse, and-
things, Chris, that I'm not sure you're aware of. Our portion that we've agreed to purchase is 72 acres. To be determined exactly how, but approximately 450 to 500 acres surrounding that 72 acres of the most environmentally sensitive areas will be owned by the trust, and that's where additional trails and networks will be offered, okay? To be decided sooner rather than later. But they're just lines on a map, I've been told, for right now. Anyway, so that's part of it. The biggest part is we're committing open space funds for this, and that is the prize. It's not just the 72 acres that we're buying, we're helping them ease 1,500 acres. That's the prize, and that's what we're trying to do. And if we lose a large substantial portion, I don't know how much for the DCNR grant, well, our costs go up exponentially. So it's been a process to get there. One of the things, we did consider saving the front portion of the building, and it just didn't make sense. We decided that the first building up on the right,
No, I think it's the back one. I don't know what.
no, the first one up on the right, they're using as an office and office equipment. We'll keep that because it has a functioning bathroom, it has an office, and we're gonna need to have a mower there or some sort of equipment to take care of the property, so that would, rather than running up all the way up to here. But I wanna go back and say, you thought about moving the campus up there. So wait, we don't know what year that could happen. Maybe it never happens, maybe it happens in 100 years, maybe 200 years. Whatever we decide with that property, we're trying to decide long-term, which is more than 5 or 10 years. We have no idea what's going to be there. It is flat in the large section. That's the largest part. I think that's why National Land Trust thought to parcel that off for us, because if we ever wanted to, and trust me, there's no plans to put additional ball fields there, but if we did, that would be an ideal place. There's parking, there's level fields, and that could be used. And again, we're talking keeping it open space until there's a need for it. And we don't know what that need is.
And what do we open space land taxpayers get out of it?
They're going to be able to use, first off, it's open space. When we kicked in $200,000 for 16 years, what did you get out of it, Chris?
The same thing, you're gonna get a
Open
view shed.
space. You keep people out of the school system, and you're supposedly it's going to save $16,000 a student.
Actually, you're gonna get more than just a view shed. You're gonna actually be able to use this property for trails, horses. So it's gonna have other uses. It's not just a view shed that we usually use our open space money for. So we're getting a bonus here. And we're protecting, the key is we were key in protecting the 1,500 acres for us doing this. Without us, they weren't sure if they could make this happen. And the grant enabled us to be able to do it. Without the grant, we won't be able to do it either, or they won't be able to do it.
Well, I don't want to suggest anything that would interfere with accomplishing the protection of the land. I'm just saying that this township couldn't afford to ever build a building like that.
No.
And certainly I could understand removing part of it as you're suggesting. but it's like here, where do you park here? Well, I parked on the grass here tonight. I don't know where you're supposed to park here. There's no parking here. That place has infinite parking. I mean, it would never be a problem. There's no neighbors that you could possibly bother. Here, there's lots of neighbors you can bother. It has so much more potential than where you are now, that to just overlook it is just beyond belief to me. I just...
Open space is the key word. 1,500 acres of open space or restricted growth. Brian, did you ever do a study on the property, currently the way it's zoned, what could be built there as far as number of homes?
It was around 700.
So
That's what we're protecting.
Well, no, and I appreciate that. I agree with it, and years ago I was...
So how many are going to be built under your current proposal, roughly? How many are going to remain on?
Well, there's 12 existing homes, and there's a total of 39 lots. So.
39 additional homes?
No, it would be 27 additional homes.
So 720, so that's what I meant by keeping focus on the ball, and that is the 1,500 acres that they came to us years ago before my time and said, hey, could you foreseeable in the future do this, come up with the money? And it just happened to work out that yes, we can, but we can't do it all. Jim?
I'm a little mixed up on what Erica was asking the board. Can we go back to the request, if that'd be all right? I wasn't sure exactly what you were asking of the board on this topic.
Just
nothing.
discussion.
Yeah, this is just making sure that the board, we make an announcement about what our plan is at present. Yeah.
Because we talk about it occasionally, but no house does. Maria, you had a question?
Yeah, I think that I heard you say that in the future, whenever, if we ever needed to move our facilities there, we would have that ability, correct?
We would have that ability with one caveat. Brian, don't let me misbelieve these folks. If, say, we moved our campus up there, that we would probably have to refund or part of that DCNR grant, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, but, so the ability that Chris is concerned about is in existence. Retrofitting that type of a building, I haven't seen it, I have no idea, you told me what it sounds like, but retrofitting a building is an enormous undertaking if it was a shell of a building with 4 walls, a roof, and a floor, but to do it in something that sounds like, like, I know that I looked at an old cattle barn once to do something with it. It became
There's
just...
many more than one, but Brian, I've toured the property twice. Do you know how many of those commercial dairy buildings are there?
How many buildings are there in total? Well, there's the main complex. There's about 172,000 square feet of old dairy buildings.
Hopefully our township will never need that.
There's the main dairy complex, and then there's 3 outbuildings. 4 other buildings that are used for various operations of the dairy.
Chris?
Then what is the cost of tearing it down? You speak both rebar and concrete. What's the cost of tearing it down?
400?
400 to 500,000 estimate.
And you don't think that for $500,000 you could rehab it?
All those buildings? No.
Not all of them, no, I mean the main one.
You keep the main
I
one.
have a problem with all the other ones, tear them all down.
Okay, but if you
I'm
take
saying the main one.
Okay, so you take the main one and you rehab that for, if you can do it under 300,000, you're probably doing well. So then you still have to demo the other 9 buildings or whatever there are. So it's still going to cost you another 300, so you're going to be out 200 at
But
best
if you
case.
sold this property, you get something for this.
True, yes, but we don't need, I guess,
No,
we're not in need
diverting
for
money
it.
from here up to there.
You have a building for which there's no real use.
Yeah,
See, here, there's no parking.
well, just to go to that extent for parking, I think we can solve the parking problem if we need to.
Yes.
Yeah, it seems to me that if you've been working on this for more than 5 years, it might be high time to develop a definitive fact sheet, so everybody's not throwing around partial facts and relying on your memory. So you list all the facts, you list the chronology of development, you list short-term options, long-term options, payment options, and you distribute that to the public. Because this is not being transparent with the public. This is just a bunch of people brainstorming based upon their memories.
So what are you asking to do?
I'm
Have
asking
somebody,
someone to develop a definitive fact sheet of all the options, so that
well, that would
we
take
don't have to,
appraisals.
we don't have to repeat this inefficient discussion next month.
In support of that, my understanding from the Natural Lands Trust person was it was 35 acres, now you're talking 75.
It's 72.
Well, you must have misunderstood, because I'm sure Peter and Brian know exactly how many acres
72.
we're talking about.
72.
You're 35.
It's been 72 acres. We also had a rollout of this with the Natural Land Trust at the Lover's Corner, where 450 people, I believe, were in attendance. And we went over all this, 72 acres, and what our plans were, and all that. You're asking for definitive plans on what to do with the property? Open space is what we're going to do with it.
I understand open space, but I dealt with the federal government for 30 years, and if everything is not in writing and everyone doesn't agree on every single fact that's in writing, you're wasting your time.
Yeah, well,
You're just going to keep repeating this inefficient discussion over and over again. People are going to get frustrated. I have
Right.
no idea what's going on.
We don't have actual hard numbers at this point.
Well, you
Here's
got
part
a
of the problem.
$900,000 grant, I would imagine.
Well, that's a hard number, we do know that one.
Here's key number one. We do not own the property. We have no financial interest in it at this
Well,
point.
you hope to have it, so you, the board, and the citizens have a vested interest in having a concrete 3 to 5 page summary of everything, so that we can all look at it and agree, and then we can have more efficient discussions.
Well, the summary would be the purchase price. That's the only summary that there is. When we buy the property, there will be a price to it. We don't even have that price at this point. We have an idea.
Is this how you always operate?
Johnny, he's misunderstanding you 5 years. He's thinking you've got a history, but it's NLT's history and the Dietrich family history. It's not West Vincent's history.
Until they're
That's not-
hoping to close on the property in the next month or so, maybe 2 months, whatever their goal is. They're in the middle of a fundraising thing, but that's totally different than, but we have given them a letter of commitment as far as we could, because we cannot, as supervisors, commit any dollar amount at this point.
Well,
I don't know.
that's not what I was recommending.
Say that again?
What I'm recommending is that you get all the facts that you do have in a collaborative effort with NLT, so that we can all have more efficient discussions.
Well, the
This
facts
is
are,
going in circles.
no, the only facts there are is 72 acres, there's a number of buildings.
The only facts you're sure of are the ones that are in your head.
No.
What
Brian,
the rest
am I
of us-
wrong? Is there, I mean, we know the exact number of acres, correct?
Yes.
We know the
And
buildings.
Furthermore, we went through the subdivision
Right.
process already, where those acres were put on plans and went through the
Right.
review process.
So we have that, we have the number of buildings.
All right, I withdraw the recommendation. Let's keep operating this way.
Okay.
I just have a question. When we parceled off the 72 acres, did we make the choice to take the dairy buildings, or was that their idea to get the dairy buildings gotten rid of?
The dairy buildings are there. I wasn't part of why that 72 acres, but part of it probably was that the had buildings on it, but there's also a pond that could be used for recreation. There's a driveway already there. It's very level for how, is that 10-acre part?
Probably about that.
All that made it seem like a fit for the township for some future use that could be determined whenever.
So we considered it desirable to get the buildings, not?
It's a fabulous property. It truly
No,
is.
I see that.
No, we have no use for the buildings.
What?
We have no use for the buildings.
Yeah.
We're not buying it for the buildings. We're buying it to save 1,500 acres and open space.
I get that. I just wondered why we wound up with the buildings. And it was our
Oh.
choice?
It was offered to us as,
We also are getting
Piece of property.
4 silos that I personally think we should make into 3-bedroom high-rise apartments, but they're coming down also. Yes.
I was just wondering whether any feasibility study or anything had been done
in this, 5-year period, or the due diligence, or, I know NLT did studies on all the various buildings.
The prize is
Yeah.
saving 1,500 acres of
Yeah, no,
open
I'm-
space.
I'm
Now,
John-
bear with me for a second, because you keep jumping to the next phase.
Yeah.
What we're doing is we gave them the financial leverage to consummate the deal without
I
our,
understand that.
so there is no plans for it, it's to keep it as
No, I
open
was just
space.
curious if anyone had done studies, that's all I'm asking. I'm all in
No.
favor of this, I gave money for this, and I want it to happen, believe me. I'm just out of curiosity asking.
There's no feasibility study because we have no reason to put in ball fields. We have,
No, I just was asking,
it's open
not
space.
Trying to,
Sarah?
But is there, I understood there would be a constraint with the DCNR funds if it was applied to that parcel. It would restrict the use to recreational uses.
Correct.
So it wouldn't be that you could put up a building and have a
Without paying back.
profit stable or whatever. So part of getting this bonus money from the state is to keep it for recreation. You probably-
Potentially for recreation.
Right. So recreation is the purpose for which you were buying it, because you're accepting the DCNR funds.
No, we're buying it for open space.
I mean, recreation is
Potentially.
allowed.
Would be
Recreation
the-
is
Would be
allowed.
the only allowed use.
The only allowed.
Okay, good.
If we kept the building, if we rehab the building and did what Chris suggests and put horse stalls in it and rented horse stalls.
We'd lose the grant.
We'd lose the grant.
And you'd be in the horse business.
And we'd be in the
Well,
horse
that's not even that. I mean, Chris was actually asking to buy it, him to buy that, and we just buy the property around it. And that is a possible option. I mean, it could be, but it's probably too late in the game to do it.
We'd have to go for a lot line change again.
Everything, and the DCNR grant.
Chris?
Mr. Williamson did say something about, as I said, is there such a thing as a variance or an exception or something that the Natural Lands Trust could evoke to avoid any of these negative slingshot effects of losing grants and money and all that sort of thing? And he thought that perhaps there was, because, a form of recreation, of course, just like running or biking or horseback riding, they're all recreations, they're country recreations. I mean, they're things you can only do in the country. So they're reserved for country. The only problem is that horses require more open space than walking does, or bicycling. So that you could say fairly that the recreation of riding a horse was no different than taking a walk.
Correct. Suzanne, I'll
I
get
have
to you.
a question for you and for Brian. Are we going to be able to fox hunt on that property or hunt with hounds on the property?
The
that's open
72
space?
acres or their 450 acres?
The larger portion, between the 72 and the 500.
The 72 acres will be up to us. The 450 will be up to them.
500,
Well, 450 to 500.
yeah.
That needs, they're still working on that number, correct, Brian?
Yes, we are. And to answer your question, we're still formulating those kinds of game plans as to what uses and where and groups and when people approach us about a number of activities, hunting, for example. So there's a lot we have to kind of formulate and put together, and we're just really now at the infancy of doing that. So it's going to take some months to read.
Right. The only reason I'm asking is that I don't know if there's been any fox hunting on that property in the last 20 years. But between prior to
Foxes are
that...
probably loving it there.
Yeah, they are. But we used to fox hunt there, and we used to foot hunt there, and it was a wonderful property for that because it was so open. Now you're going to have a lot more houses, but still you're going to have a fair amount of open space.
Yeah.
So it would be a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, all those things need to really be formulated into a concrete plan. And right now, we're open to a lot of those concepts. We're putting those into our...
Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, your fundraising effort is still ongoing.
Yes, it is.
You are several $100,000 short of your goal.
That's correct.
So if you, and I know there's many, probably all of you are donors in this room, but if you know anybody else that isn't, now's the time to get them up and write that check. But there was another point for me mentioning that. the reason, Suzanne, that the 450 to 500 acres is not set in stone, if they come up short, they're gonna have to sell more land.
I understand that.
Okay. So that's why they haven't,
If we do even better, we'll have more open space and less.
well, he's going to buy 10 acres someplace.
Yeah, what about things like some sort of referendum or something on a ballot where people contribute or out of the tax base, or does that already exist?
No, it hasn't been done. In a way it has. This money is coming out of our open space funds, which is through the EIT tax, the portion that's set aside for open space. So that was done in 2004. And then redone again in 2009? Six, something like that. So, in essence, there is a referendum for acquiring open space through the board. And this is, I mean, just think of this. We're gonna spend $1.2 million or maybe $1.4 million. We're gonna get 900,000 approximately back. And we're helping saving 1,500 acres. It's mind-boggling what an opportunity. If it wasn't for these folks being diligent in this effort over all the years, we could have a Chesterbrook there or a Hershey Mill there. That's what would be there. Imagine that. So,
Bravo. Good for you folks.
Francis.
I know, I've sat through hours of meetings that the National Land Trust had right here in this room. And so, people in West Vincent Township could have attended those meetings and listened to the discussion between the Land Trust and the Township and Cedarville, and they just didn't. It isn't that we were hiding anything. I mean, they were very open about everything they did, but there were very few people outside of the people who were interested in the Planning Commission that actually attended, but there was a lot of information out there.
You're talking about the zoning and...
Yeah, everything was discussed, I mean, from the ground up.
But we still have an obligation, when somebody doesn't know something, is to fill them in as best we can.
All right.
We do. That's just, George.
Do you have to tear down the buildings right away?
Yes.
Effectively, yes.
Yes.
Why is that?
Just curious, you can say if you stabilize them, just left them there and didn't spend the money until you need to do something. I know it's.
I mean, what would be the purpose of doing that? One liability would be an issue.
Well,
because now it's a
that's
park.
the question.
But I mean, what would be the purpose? Unless we had a
The
purpose for the building.
Spend $40,000 today.
The DCNR grant would be reduced because it is no longer open space.
That's what I was wondering.
In reference to the gentleman who was concerned about the fact sheet, I was wondering if it would be possible just to put the facts that we do have on the webpage, and then just add to them as we get more definite facts, so that there are people who want facts.
Well, we could
they
put-
can go there and look them up and
I don't know, what do we have on
know
there?
for sure what we know. And
I think we have stuff on the website.
Erica's saying she could do that, but she's gonna have to be very, very sketchy, and
Yeah.
because
we don't have facts.
we have no plans for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, just because somebody asks questions about the process doesn't mean they oppose what's going on.
Right.
I just want to make that very clear. I mean, there are people, maybe who are new residents, people who haven't been able to go to meetings, people who are interested and supportive, but just want to know more, and that's all.
Absolutely.
I just want to make sure that my position is very clear, that I'm a supporter, and
Okay.
this gentleman here, I think, just wanted to know more, and maybe he was hostile about it, but.
And we're always available, and Erica's
Yeah,
always
I know.
available. If you have any questions, you can call us, Chris. We'll take your phone calls.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you.
Sharon, did you have a?
Oh, no, I was just getting impatient with the whole conversation. No, I want to say, look, let's settle the land stuff, get the land, everything what you're saying. Settle it, and then worry about a 5-year plan and getting all these facts out. Let's just get it done, get the 72 acres.
I mean, I think Chris's concern is missing an opportunity.
No, yeah, about that part, but I mean, let's just get the 72 acres and move on. I want to go
If we
home.
do that, there won't be any buildings there. I think that's what they're trying to raise the question. Chris, do you have?
Have you given up the idea of at least just saving that part, just the facade, get rid of all the other buildings? Because just that, the facade and the left wing and right wing, get rid of all the appendages that go out the back and all the other buildings. I mean, that alone, just keeping that one portion of the building alone would be sufficient to certainly house this and much more.
Well, that was addressed at a staff meeting, wasn't that?
We definitely did discuss that, Chris.
It's cost.
We've had those discussions.
It's cost.
And with the engineer and everything, the costs were just too much. For no use at this time.
Okay.
I promise this is my last comment. I'm just asking if, again, if I did not understand before tonight is that if the building stays, you lose a grant. But I'm just asking though if the historical committee might, assuming you would go forward and acquire the property, if the historical committee would have the opportunity to go through the building and document what's there before anything is done to it.
I'm sure Brinco would gladly grant that request even before we purchase the property.
Yeah, I just we'd like to see what's there.
Is that correct? Am I misspeaking?
No, that's absolutely correct.
And I gotta tell you, I've toured it twice. David and I were floored by the ingenuity that this gentleman put into this plan. Even so, there's something that not many people realize. You go in, and these poor cows are mistreated big time, but they didn't get to move much. But they have a walkway up in the ceiling with plywood on both sides and plexiglass so you can stay. They used to bus kids in from different school districts to watch the operation and the whole process. You walk down the line and it's still there. But it's pretty disgusting inside the buildings.
That's okay.
Anyway, talk to Erica if you ever want a tour. She'll set it up. Any other questions, folks? Great. Then you're going to put something.
Sure. I'll put something on the website as a summary of where the project stands, the facts that we know.
Lots of question marks.
Okay.
Next is a zoning hearing board alternate vacancy.
Yes.
Do we have?
Yeah, we don't, we are in a need. We do not have a list of candidates. We're in need of an alternate, so we're seeking applications. So we're making that's what we're doing today.
Are there any qualifications, or can they be on another committee?
That's fine.
You sure?
Step
They,
down.
to be on the committee for zoning? Oh, yeah.
Sure.
All right, let's confirm that.
No,
That's
we'll put
fine.
it on the
We
website.
need them, yes.
Well, but there have been people that have been on other committees.
Yeah, well, you know what, actually, John, you're on. Yeah, as an alternate. Yeah, you just moved on.
So how was the vacancy created?
I have no idea.
Brian O'Reilly does not wish to be an alternate, so we'll have a vacancy.
So if you know anybody that's interested, send an application into.
John is one, yes.
How many alternates are there?
Two.
John and Brian O'Reilly.
Wait, what does an alternate do? What does an alternate do?
An alternate steps in when you have a member of the 5-member board who can't make it to a hearing, the alternate's there, and then the alternate steps in.
Or needs to recuse him.
Or they just for any reason can't serve.
Moving on, we're going to open the meeting up for public comment on non-agenda items. Suzanne.
I have a question about B&Bs without residents. Okay, we have B&Bs, Airbnbs, I guess it is, who don't have residents on the property. Do we know how many we have of those in the township?
We did it one time a year and a half ago.
So
Chris, how many of them are there?
There aren't any that I know of. There are only two short-term rentals that I know of. I don't even know if I guess they're both in the township, and the main house, there's a main house and a cottage.
But
What
that
if they're not occupied?
amendment to the ordinance.
I mean, like, if they went to Florida, for the winter? If the main homeowner went to Florida for the winter,
Or for the year,
for the year?
yeah.
I don't know of any like that. I wish I could go.
What's the concern?
What you do? Your own Airbnb
When-
or BRO?
Well, so, I guess what I'm asking is, in my neck of the woods, we happen to have a situation where we have an Airbnb that's meant to be rented for a certain period of time, because that was the agreement that was made, and the property is for sale, and so therefore no one is occupying the property, or they are not at this, and have not for quite some period of time. Yet they're still renting that property out.
I don't know if there's any restrictions that the property owner has to live there.
We updated the
I mean,
ordinance.
we updated the ordinance
Yeah.
saying that it could only be rented for a maximum of 2 weeks
There-
consecutive or
And
something.
we
Yeah.
required registration with the
And
township.
registration,
so-
right. But I don't think there's anything about somebody having to live there.
So the answer is we should be able to give you a list of, because if they were duly registered, we should be able to compile a list of what they are.
Okay, so no one really monitors this.
Suzanne, if you have a specific property, because I'm working on a property issue, let's talk, because I want to make sure if it's what I'm thinking that.
It could be.
Okay,
It could be.
all right.
And as I recall, not to bring up a bad subject, but our zoning code regarding Airbnbs is one of the key reasons you need an attorney sitting next to you to interpret it, but also why we've agreed to, as soon as we can, next year, redo our zoning code. It's horrible in that regard. Yes,
And we call it peer-to-peer because Airbnb is a trade.
Right.
Peer-to-peer lease.
yes.
Hey, John. This is a small topic, but I sent an email in about 6 weeks ago to the website info@, and just reported one of the storm drains in Weatherstone was undermined and starting to collapse. Never got a response, so I came over and gave the picture to the guy at the counter, and I still haven't heard anything. And I'd hate to see a kid break a leg or an ankle because it's starting to cave in into the grass and around the AT&T box. So who responds to questions we put into the website? Or does anybody, or do we just send that and hope somebody sees it?
First off, let me say I apologize because something went completely. Secondly, if you don't get a response, if the three of us
Yep.
I think we have published phone numbers and
Oh, yeah,
an email.
contact me
But
directly,
Erica,
yeah, for sure.
she'll
Yeah.
get right on it.
Yeah.
Can you
Absolutely, yeah. we'll
not
talk.
just figure out how to fix it, but let them know what's going on?
Sure.
And
Can you
is-
share your phone number with Eric so she?
I'll be glad to.
And who gets the
Thank you.
emails on the website?
Yeah, okay.
Chris?
Returning to this Airbnb thing, it's sort of like saying that there are sharks in the ocean and nobody can go in the ocean because there might be a shark there. Why are you even bothering with this? Because
We're
the
not.
truth is that, and I said this in plenty of other meetings, the people that I've had that have come and stayed in my place are probably kinder than almost anybody in this room and more appreciative of the area. I'm
Thank you,
serious. I mean,
Chris.
they're
I take offense to that.
You know, to anticipate that there's gonna be some guy with a chainsaw massacre that's gonna stay in the house is absurd. I mean, the chance of somebody falling into a culvert and hurting their leg is greater than somebody coming out of a house and hurting it.
Chris, that wasn't my point. The point is that I believe there's an Airbnb in my neck of the woods that is being over-rented. I think there's a limit to how many nights you can stay.
Well, there is an R ordinance. I mean, should there be? I would question that,
I
but
don't know. I
Well, let me
just bring
say
it
here.
up because I happen to notice, because I drive by it every day, that it seems to be a lot of occupancy, and there is nobody else there. That's all.
There is a caveat to property that has to do with insurance, that an empty property is a higher liability than a non-empty property. So if you are going to, let's say, I'm gonna go to France and live in the countryside for a year, you're better having somebody move into your house and leaving it empty, because an empty house is a potential problem. So I can see situations where you might say to somebody, hey, I'll tell you what, do you want to swap houses, or do you want to come live in the house while I'm away, because I don't want something to go wrong and the pipes to freeze or the the fire to start or something like that. So there are a lot of reasons why somebody might be in a house, even for an extended period of time like that.
We took care of amending our Airbnb section of the zoning code a year ago.
And
it
Chris
is-
was a part of
And I
it.
didn't
And
bring
it's
my
very,
lawyer.
very, it shows up in like 6 different sections, and you really need to stay away for it. But anyway, and we're not gonna solve that issue. It's in zoning code, and our zoning officer will respond to you if you contact him. Tom Margo is his name.
Thank you.
Did I handle that right?
You got it.
Any other questions, folks? Then I'll entertain a motion to end the meeting.
So moved.
Second.